It's a decision Muslera took himself. Marcelo Bielsa said that in Guadalajara on the night of June 26, 2026, when reporters asked why his goalkeeper had been pulled at halftime. Not a tactical call, not the coach's hand. The goalkeeper asked to come off. A 40-year-old asked to be taken out of a World Cup match he had just lost for his country. To understand that sentence, you have to go back 16 years, because the man who walked himself off the pitch in Guadalajara is the same man who once held a record nobody could touch. Fernando Muslera, born in Buenos Aires, named after a Uruguayan striker his family admired, a forward until he was 8, then a goalkeeper for the rest of his life. He debuted for Uruguay in October 2009. At the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, he kept clean sheets through all 3 group games, and before Uruguay finally conceded in the round of 16, he had set the record for the longest unbeaten run by a goalkeeper at a World Cup. In the quarterfinal against Ghana, penalty shootout, he saved 2 spot kicks. Uruguay reached the semifinals and finished 4th, their best World Cup in 60 years. He was voted one of the best goalkeepers on the planet. He went on to win 133 caps, the most ever by a Uruguayan goalkeeper, and a Copa America in 2011. That is the man. Hold on to him, because the next part is what he became. Muslera retired from international football in April 2024. Done. The shirt handed on. And then Bielsa brought him back, recalled him in March 2026 for friendlies, named him in the 26-man squad on May 31st. When Muslera started Uruguay's opener against Saudi Arabia, he became the first Uruguayan to feature in 5 World Cup squads and the oldest player ever to appear at a World Cup for Uruguay, edging past Diego Godin, a legend, unretired, for one last tournament. Now the 42nd minute against Spain, Group H. Estadio Guadalajara, Uruguay needed only a draw to keep their hopes alive. Marcos Llorente clipped a ball across to Alex Baena. Baena took a touch and struck a shot that everyone who watched it described the same way. Central, tame, manageable. Muslera went down to his right. He got both hands on it, and he palmed it into his own net. The only goal of the game. Here is the statistic that turns one mistake into a portrait. According to Opta, Muslera became the first goalkeeper on record since 1966 to commit 3 errors directly leading to goals in a single World Cup. 3 across 3 matches: Saudi Arabia, Cape Verde, Spain. He had conceded a goal of his own making in every game he played. I want to be precise, because the early reports said all 4 of Uruguay's goals were on him, and the verified figure is 3. It does not soften anything. Take back any one of those moments, and Uruguay are probably still in the tournament. At the break, the change came, and it came from him. Bielsa was clear. Muslera asked off. It was the first time in his career he had ever been substituted in a World Cup match, and Uruguay's first goalkeeper change at a World Cup since substitutions were introduced to the tournament in 1970. 16 years between the record-setting clean sheets and the walk to the bench, the same hands. And there is a darker echo, because this was not the first time a World Cup ended badly for Muslera. At the 2022 tournament in Qatar, after Uruguay went out, he was caught on camera making contact with a match official in the chaos and was handed a 4-match international ban. He retired soon after he came back. And he leaves again now on almost the same note. A tournament ended early, an ugly final scene around him. Because the team did not just lose, it came apart. Early in the second half, Bielsa pulled his captain, Federico Valverde, the Real Madrid midfielder, replacing him with Federico Viñas to chase an attacking presence. Valverde walked off visibly upset. Reports of friction with Bielsa over tactics had circulated before kickoff. In first-half stoppage time, Uruguay lost Manuel Ugarte. The Manchester United midfielder stretchered off in tears with an apparent knee injury after colliding with his own teammate. And in the dying minutes, Agustín Canobio launched a studs-up lunge at Spain's teenage defender Pau Cubarsí and was sent off. A team unraveling around a goalkeeper who was already on the bench. Let me be fair here, because the easy story blames one pair of hands and stops. Bielsa himself insisted the match was even, that Uruguay deserved a draw, that performance was not the problem, and that he simply failed to get the most out of his players. And the results do flip if you remove the goalkeeping errors. But the numbers tell a second, quieter truth. Uruguay's expected goals for the entire match, 0.2. Spain's, in a performance everyone called unconvincing, 0.86. Uruguay had 55% possession, their highest average at any World Cup since records began in 1966, and made almost nothing of it. They held the ball more than they ever have and barely threatened. Darwin Núñez, presented with their clearest chance, went for an ambitious backheel and failed to connect. So which was it? A good team betrayed by its keeper, or a blunt team merely exposed by him? Both probably sitting together. The gamble that broke them was unretiring a 40-year-old. But the cracks in Bielsa's management, the rows, the criticism from Luis Suarez earlier in the tournament were spreading before Baena ever struck the ball. And Bielsa knew exactly where to point. Not at Muslera, at himself. "What I gave Uruguayan football is nothing," he told the cameras, "because any contribution a coach can make to a national team is futile if you don't have a positive outcome. If you ask me how they'll remember me as someone who left nothing. A coach with a reputation that spans Leeds, Bilbao, Marseille, standing at a podium and erasing his own legacy in 2 sentences. His future with Uruguay is now an open question nobody around the squad seems eager to answer. 2-time world champions, the country that won the very first World Cup in 1930. Out in the group stage for the second tournament running without a single win. That is not bad luck. That is a fall. Here is what I keep returning to. On the same night in Houston, another 40-year-old goalkeeper was writing the opposite ending. Cape Verde, an archipelago of around 525,000 people, World Cup debutants ranked 67th in the world, drew 0-0 with Saudi Arabia and went through as runners-up, the smallest nation ever to reach the knockout stage of a men's World Cup. Their keeper, Vozinha, the same age as Muslera, kept clean sheets against Spain and Saudi Arabia, and watched his mother wave a small Cape Verde flag from the stands after a visa problem had kept her from his earlier heroics. 2 goalkeepers, both 40, both at the center of their nation's story. One pushed his country out, the other carried his in. So I'll leave you with the question the night left open. We talk about athletes going out on their own terms. Muslera literally did. He asked to come off by his own hand in his last act in the shirt. 16 years earlier, those same hands set a World Cup record and saved 2 penalties against Ghana. The same player, the same body, a different ending. Does a career like that get measured by where it started or by where it stopped? Tell me in the comments, and tell me the player whose final act you wish you could rewrite, because I read these and the ones about endings always run deepest. If you want the rest of this World Cup broken down the same way as the stories keep detonating, the subscribe button is right there. The hands that saved Uruguay in 2010 are the hands that knocked them out in 2026. I'm not sure football has a tidy way to hold both of those at once. I'm not sure it should.